Fulham picked up their first win of the Premier League season with a bizarre own goal in second half stoppage time against Leeds United. This is how it's happened. Marco Silva made one change with Harry Wilson, who was linked to a move to Leeds on deadline day, coming in for Timothy Castagne to give Fulham more attacking impetus. Kevin started on the bench. Chukwueze and Kusi Asade weren't in the squad, having returned from international duty from Nigeria and Sweden under-21s respectively. It was a really boring game on the whole, with both teams having an XG below 1, and Fulham only registered their first shot from a Harry Wilson free kick in the 58th minute. And maybe the lack of attacking spark from Fulham was down to the midfield. Sander Berge and Sasha Lukic have been excellent as a defensive pivot since the start of last season, but haven't offered much in attacking output in terms of goals or assists. But against Leeds United, it was a lot worse than that, with Sander Berge only making 4 progressive passes out of his 48 on the day, while Sasha Lukic made 3 from 30 from open play. So, do we need to start maybe taking the handbrake off, especially when we're playing teams like Leeds who lack an attacking threat themselves and going to be sitting back a lot of the time, and we're going to have majority of possession? I think Iwobi would be fantastic as an 8 with Lukic as the 6, who for me has been one of our best players so far this season. Iwobi was again not at his best level, and you could definitely see him struggling from returning from international break, and not helped by picking up a knock early in the second half. But Iwobi always performs for Nigeria in the 8th role, and his ball carrying can definitely help us in developing dangerous attacks. Joachim Andersen, for me, was our best player and wore the captain's armband for the first time since 2021. Defensively, he was brilliant, and surprisingly, it was actually his distribution this time around that was subpar, which is usually what makes him so good. His ability to stay with Okafor, who was Leeds' attacking outlook on the counter-attack, and how he jockeyed to delay Okafor, which was what allowed our team to get back, was brilliant. His defensive contribution so far this season has been immaculate, and he seems like a new signing. Last season, he wasn't that great, and Cameron Bassey definitely was our better centre-back last year, and definitely using his pace got Andersen out of trouble. But this season so far, Andersen has been brilliant, and definitely if he keeps this up and is able to stay consistent for the entirety of the season, he definitely looks like the £30 million we paid for him last summer. And the other contender for man of the match for me was Kenny Tete. In the matchday programme, he spoke about how close he was to leaving. His agent, Anthony Khan, actually stopped speaking, and he was about to join Everton until he called Marco Silva to explain the situation, because Silva didn't even know what was happening. But when that conversation happened, Silva stepped in to stop this from happening, and the fact it got to that point is a little bit of a disgrace in my opinion. Even though he's turning 30 in just under a month and has had his fair share of injuries, when he has been fit, he's shown that he's one of, if not the best 1v1 defenders in the Premier League. How he got him for around £3 million in 2021 from Olympique Lyonnais, I still don't know. It's been one of our best signings over recent years. And now let's talk about Kevin, and my word, what a player. He's one of those players who you think something's going to happen every time he gets the ball. He was the attacking spark we needed, and it's just a shame we didn't see him much sooner. I actually think Silva got the subs wrong in that aspect. I think Kevin should have came on when Adama came on, especially with how much you could see Iwobi was struggling. I think if Kevin comes on sooner, we score much earlier, and so Leeds United would then be forced to attack us, which is when you bring on someone like Adama, who would be able to exploit those spaces in behind on the counter-attack. But because that didn't happen, it was still 0-0 going into the last parts of the game. Leeds United were definitely playing for points, which I don't blame them. It would have been a really good point for them in a really tough fixture away at Craven Cottage. But because they're operating with a low block, Dharma was very ineffective. Whereas with Kevin, his ability to go both ways gives us that sense of unpredictability, which is what we've lacked. Later on, Leeds United actually resorted to doubling up on Kevin, but what that did was open space and create gaps into the well-organised structure of Leeds, where Kevin was able to play a 1-2 with Sessegnon and was denied by a brilliant save by Cole Darlow. I think we'll have a lot of interest in Kevin next summer, which is a crazy thing to say given it's only been a matter of weeks since he's joined us, but it will be difficult to keep hold of him. Even if we do achieve Europe, he's that good. But for now, let's just enjoy him whilst he's here. He will excite the fans week in, week out with that X factor that he brings, and hopefully he can take us to Europe or a cup win or something like that. But outside of Kevin, there was a serious lack of attacking threats. Before Kevin came on, we didn't look like scoring. At no point did I think Leeds were going to score, and so it's probably fitting that it was an own goal that broke the deadlock in the end in the 94th minute. And I've got to be honest, even after watching the replay numerous times, I have still got no idea what Goodmanson was thinking. He has absolutely no pressure under him, but for some reason heads it brilliantly in his own top corner. I think if he's in the opposite box and tries to do that, he would struggle. But to be fair, if there was going to be one team that would eventually score, I think it would have been us, just based on how Kevin was playing. But we take it, it's a win, we're off the mark, and it's 3 points at the end of the day. We'll take it, even if it wasn't the greatest performance from us. In terms of what that does to our start to the season, we needed that win. Not because if we didn't win, we'd be in a relegation battle this season, but just to get us off the mark. And hopefully now we can use that to kick on after what has been a difficult start to the season. Before the international break, we picked up 2 points out of Brighton away, Manchester United at home and Chelsea away, which is quite respectable. It's a difficult set of fixtures on paper, and especially when you consider some of the circumstances with the refereeing, which for sure hasn't gone in our favour, in what you could argue in all three of those matches, but mainly against Manchester United and Chelsea. We sit 11th in the league, which is probably fair based off our performances so far this season. We haven't looked particularly great so far. Only the Chelsea first half, you could say, was when we were at our best level, but even then we struggled to create clear-cut chances. But now we've got more options and, more importantly, more quality in attack. We should hopefully be able to play much better. It's just a shame we didn't get those signings in much sooner, because those games definitely seem like a missed opportunity. We just need to hope that our signings hopefully settle in really well, just like Kevin. Next up is our other West London rivals in Brentford, who I think we can all agree have looked much better than expected under Keith Andrews. Kevin has to start without a shadow of a doubt, and in an ideal world for me, Chukwueze starts on the other side, but I don't think that'll happen. I think Marco Silva will start him on the bench, maybe bring him on in the second half, and then most definitely start him in our League Cup match against Cambridge United in midweek. Even though I talked about how he probably should be playing in that 8 role more often, I think Iwobi would be the next best option on the right. I think Harry Wilson would have a much greater impact off the bench, as we saw last year with his 2 stoppage time goals, and Adama just isn't good enough to start at that right wing position. I'd make 2 other changes. I think we've missed Robinson so much, even if Sessegnon has been an okay deputy. I think from left back, Robinson is much better offensively and also gives us a lot more assurance defensively. Also, I think he would complement Kevin on that left-hand side really well, and we could definitely be a dangerous force down that left-hand side. And I'd also start Raul instead of Muniz, who was poor at the weekend. But let me know your thoughts on the Leeds United match and your predictions for Brentford. Unfortunately, it's going to be the first game of the season that I will be missing, and I am absolutely gutted to be missing this one. Hopefully, nonetheless, we get the bragging rights over the bus stop. Follow me on all my socials, and as always, stay safe and thanks for watching.